Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one's entitled Planet X Created the Asteroid Belt and Rocks in the Sky. Now, Planet X system stellar cores have been coming into the solar system for thousands of years and come in surrounded by a debris field, which is made up of rocky pieces of water and the water is in the form of clouds. Now you can see some of these objects here. This one is clearly in the sun's corona. This one is in the outer corona, but you can clearly see this trail of material behind it. And it must be very close to the sun because you can see that the jets here are actually in front of some of this debris there. Now, what happened with the stellar cores was that they were once living celestial objects with a core, living core, outer layers of material, and an atmosphere. And they died. And what happened when they died was the core died. It became severely depleted in gravitational energy. The outer layers exploded outwards, broke into pieces, and the atmosphere was lost. So all that was left was the core and a debris field. And there's water in that debris field, which, when it is very low in gravitational energy, turns into cloud. And because it breaks up into little tiny droplets of water. Now, the sun, like every other celestial object, has internal and external energy levels. Energy decreases as we move outwards from the center. Objects of a certain energy or at a certain energy level, as set by the sun, moving in the solar system, can get to a minimum distance from the sun, which corresponds to the position of the sun's energy level corresponding to the object's own energy level. So here we see how the internal energy levels work. The external are just an extension of the internal. An object has the highest energy level at the center, and the energy decreases as we move outwards. And so we have energy levels with decreasing energy as we move outwards. And then the stellar cores will interact, depending on their size, with certain levels. So the small ones interact with the lower energy levels of in the Earth's atmosphere, and the larger ones interact with levels that are at a higher energy, have a higher energy level. And so they interact with denser material that make up part of the Earth's body. And then there are the external levels, which we see here. The sun has external levels, and again, gravitational potential, gravitational energy, and electric potential increases as we move towards the center. So energy levels represented by these orbits out here, such as Jupiter, have a lower energy than ones further in. And then the larger stellar cores can come closer to the sun because they have higher, and they are at the higher energy level, which corresponds to the distance they can get to in the solar system. In other words, they get closer to the sun than smaller stellar cores. So large stellar cores seem to have material at a much higher energy level than Earth, and the smaller stellar cores seem to have material of a much lower energy level, to the point that they can only interact with Earth's lower energy layers. Which made me initially think that the Earth would also have material at a certain energy level and not others, and I discussed that in article 569. However, later I realized that the Earth as a living celestial object is different from a stellar core, which is a dead celestial object, and that the death process led to them losing matter at some of the energy levels that they initially had. The Earth and all living celestial objects seem to have matter within, which is at the maximum energy level possible, which is matter that was originally a part of the supercore from which all celestial objects in the universe seem to come from. And you may look at Article 576 for details on that. This has to be the case so that a new planet can fully interact with its parent star and also stops any celestial object from colliding with any other celestial object, no matter what size. But asteroids are different. They are not celestial objects with cores in them. They are pieces of broken planets, and they can impact the Earth. You may look at Article 541 for details on that. As these stellar cores approach the Sun, surrounded by their debris fields, there will be many pieces of that debris field which will not have the same gravitational energy or attraction for the Sun that the stellar core has, and will thus be left behind somewhere in the solar system. However, the pieces making up the inner part of the debris field will most likely proceed with the stellar core, which all the way to the Sun, if that stellar core has the energy to get to the Sun, which is why Saturn still has a debris field. You may look at Article 559, entitled Planet X Asteroid Develops Comet Tail and Alien Ringmaker. And here's an artist's impression of Saturn. I don't think this is a photograph of the real Saturn, and what gives it away is always the edge of the object. You can see it has an edge of uniform thickness and a different coloring. You see it's light blue. And if this was a photograph of the real planet, this would not occur. This is what occurs when an artist draws what they perceive, what they think Saturn looks like. A real object would have an edge that would end at the edge, not a different colored edge like we see here. So Saturn is a re-energized Planet X system stellar core which absorbed energy and material from the Sun a few thousand years ago, which turned it into a solar system planet, a gas giant. And you may look at Article 523 for more details on that. The rings are made out of what is left of its debris field and is kept in order by alien ring makers. You may look at Article 559 for details on that. The pieces of debris will then go into orbit around the Sun at a distance from the Sun associated to their electrical and gravitational potentials. That's where they stop their advance towards the Sun anyway. That's why they were left behind. And so they go into orbit at that orbital distance. Since their gravitational potential will be much lower than their electrical potential, they will attract material from the Sun's nebular clouds. And they will actually do so the moment they enter the solar system, just like the stellar core. And these nebula clouds are fed by the Sun's solar wind. So it's material that the Sun itself creates and sends out as a solar wind. And will thus develop the tail, just like the stellar cores, until the debris pieces have absorbed enough electrons and gravitational potential to be neutral and have the same electric and gravitational potentials, at which time they will lose their cloud envelopes. This therefore explains where the asteroid belt came from. It was populated by the debris fields of Planet X system stellar cores going towards the Sun. The rocky pieces without a cloud envelope are most likely old pieces that have had time to absorb gravitational energy. Any asteroid that develops a tail is a newly arrived debris piece. And some are actually called comets, but basically they are the same thing. They are broken up pieces of broken up planets. So we have an image here of the asteroid belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter's orbits. And the asteroids in Jupiter's orbit are also Planet X debris left behind by the stellar cores that they were accompanying on their way to the Sun. And of course, these ones are lower in gravitational energy than these ones, or end up, even though they absorb gravitational energy, will still end up with lower gravitational energy than the ones further in. Now, it is likely that every planet, including Earth, have a similar asteroid belt to Jupiter's. And so there would be asteroids in Mars' orbit, asteroids in Earth's orbit, and so on. Some of this debris is likely to be cloud, either separated from the rocky debris pieces or still attached to them if the objects are still absorbing energy and electrons. This is most likely where a large number of the Earth's clouds are coming from. In other words, from the debris pieces which have been left behind by stellar cores on the way to the Sun, which have a similar electric potential as the Earth, but because they are so low in gravitational potential, remain suspended in the Earth's atmosphere. Other clouds would come in with the stellar cores that the Earth is hosting. In other words, they are coming into the Earth's atmosphere to absorb energy from the Earth. And here you see one of the Planet X system stellar cores inside its cloud envelope still, at least most of it. Part of its surface is uncovered. You can see it's a spherical surface. So this is one of the stellar cores inside the Earth's atmosphere. And you can see it's clearly spherical. It's most likely a small moon core. And here you see some pieces. I don't think this is a stellar core because of its irregular, sharply angled shape. I think this is most likely a debris piece, a large piece of rock surrounded in a cloud envelope. And this it's a screenshot from a video by Secure Team 10. And here you see two images that are screenshots from a video by William McNally. And you can see that what seems to be rocks in the sky. And you can see they are sharply edged. This does not look like cloud. This looks like pieces of rock in the sky surrounded by cloud. And this is not the first time that rocks have been observed suspended in the atmosphere. And here you see some more of these. You can see by the sharpness and the darkness of the shapes beneath the cloud and surrounded in cloud that these are rock pieces suspended in the atmosphere. And these are, of course, Planet X system debris pieces. Pieces of broken up planets that are too low in gravitational energy to have reached the Earth's surface. So they remain suspended in the atmosphere. You may look at Article 546 for more details. So asteroids that would come in and impact the Earth are debris pieces that have been in the solar system for a long time and have absorbed enough gravitational energy and electrons to now have a higher gravitational energy than the Earth's surface, so that they fall toward the ground. It is likely that these objects maintain an interior positive charge like a stellar core, but uniformly distributed and have an outer electron layer. Since they are charged, any attempt to land a probe on one will result in an electrical discharge between the asteroid and the probe, as the negative electrical potentials equalize. In other words, electrons from the asteroid flow to the probe. This could be catastrophic for the probe. In conclusion, asteroids are Planet X debris, which were deposited inside the solar system at some distance from the Sun, whilst the stellar core that they accompanied proceeded toward the Sun. They are likely to also be positively charged and have a cloud envelope like the stellar cores, but will be uniformly charged rather than have the increasingly denser layers in the form of concentric shells that the stellar cores have. They will absorb electrons and gravitational energy inside the solar system and from the Earth if they enter its atmosphere. Some asteroids will eventually be able to impact the Earth's surface. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.